Hi, my name is AOD, and today I want to talk about some lore of the AwaKen universe. For those of you who do not know, I make a game called AwaKen: Descent into Slumber. Now, it's not a small game, by any definition of small. It's going to be a long game, and I actually have a lot of lore I would like to talk about. So, today I want to talk about a particular enemy in the world of AwaKen. But before I can get into the creature itself, I have to talk about where it comes from, and all that stuff. So anyway, we have to start with the question, what are dreams spawn? I know that some people will be very interested to know what they are. I can't tell you everything, because spoilers. What I can say for certain is that dreams spawn are created from two different things, and are categorized based on this difference. You have two types, minus, and then you have plus. There's alternate spelling for them, but I go with minus and plus because it's easier to say in conversation. Anyway, so what's the difference between a minus and a plus dream spawn? Well, a minus appears as an artificial thing. It could be anything artificial, like a slicer. A slicer is a gray humanoid with various jointed limbs that looks more artificial than living thing. And anyway, they also are typically characterized by a hole in their chest, or whatever body part is central to their body. But the most important characteristic that defines them is they are beings composed of negative energy. They do not typically have souls, and are generally the dumbest or unintelligent of the dream spawn species. So we have the minus, but the plus are a little bit more variant. A plus appears as any organic living thing. They typically appear as some kind of monster, but they can also disguise themselves as, per se, like a tree hybrid thing or something. The point is they have to look organic for them to be classified as a plus. Plus typically have negative energy, or are a soul with negative energy. They're not just collections of mindless energy. These creatures are all intelligent in some way, while the minus are not. This is because they actually have souls. It cannot be a plus if it does not have a soul. Things like with bears, they may be ghostly, but they are not true plus. They are more on the line of a minus. They may not have an artificial body. They may look more organic in their appearance, but they are just collections of vast amounts of negative energy. They are not real plus. Anyway, now that I've clarified what the dream spawn are, by definition of what types they have, I can now tell you about the rather mysterious and dangerous creature known as a Kracktos. And you may go like, that's an interesting name. Yes, it is. That's the least interesting thing about them. Their name. So where to start? Well, I can tell you about their physical appearance. Originally, they started out as a green lizardfolk humanoid. And I will post a picture right about now. So anyway, that's what they used to look like. But now, they are going to look much different. Kracktos have dark gray skin of some sort, much like most minus probably will. But they usually have slight variant skin colors. They can be slightly red, they can be slightly green in color, but they have to be grayish. Some of them are just gray. That's fine. Anyway, they have a very distinctive eye shape, which you will see right about now. Anyway, so the Kracktos. You know that they're a lizard folk, but what makes them so dangerous? Why are they so interesting that I have to make a video specifically about Kracktos? Here's why. There are several types of them which I'm not going to go over, but I will get to why they're actually dangerous while I'm talking about this. Your first type is a Titan. Titans are massive, ogre-like beings. They are lizard folk in shape and stuff, but they're absolutely barely intelligent. They rely on brute strength to crush their enemies. These things are extraordinarily rare. You don't find them usually. They're usually some far isolated location until there's actual battle, in which case the Kracktos become the frontline army of the Dreamspawn. Anyway, so you have these super powerful creatures. Then you have the Berserkers, which are they are more intelligent, but they're probably less intelligent than a 1-year-old. That's how you could put it. So anyway, they have more strength than a Titan and come with some psychic abilities. And they can wield weapons. These are the Kracktos you will typically fight in the field when there's a siege or anything like that. They are the most common to find in combat. But then there's the Stalker, and that's when this gets dark. So be prepared to be disturbed a little, at least. So anyway, what is a Stalker? From the name, you can already tell what these things do. They stalk their prey. But let me get into very precise detail about how this happens. So anyway, these are much smaller than your Berserker or your Titan. They're about a head taller than your average human. They are muscular, very powerful, they can wield weapons, and they are just, if not more intelligent than your average human. In fact, they would have the mindset of a serial killer. And here's how it works. These creatures are usually invisible to the eye, and they can be found absolutely everywhere. They can be found in a dark park, they can be found in an alley, they can be found in a house. But here's the interesting thing. They don't usually attack. This is like a serial killer who waits ever so patiently for the right victim, the right location, all that stuff. But it gets even more involved. They have to have a very specific amount of prerequisite events happening before they will even consider attacking you. In other words, you have to be standing in X position, facing this position, and standing at this part of the park, and you have to be this kind of person, you have to be, say, this kind of gender. That's how involved it gets. And it's very random when it happens. Because every Kracktos thinks differently. That's what makes them so scary. Kracktos are hyper-intelligent, like humans. They think, they have feelings. Not as much, but they still have feelings. Anyway, the point of this is you never know what one Kracktos will do compared to another. There's even some clans of Kracktos that fight each other. But the point of this, what I'm trying to say, is that these things are very meticulous. The Stalker is probably the most persistent Stalker you'll ever hear about in terms of monster. But I'm not done yet. Oh no, did you think I was done talking about the stalkers? I've just begun. Because in reality, I'm talking about the most terrifying part about any Kracktos. Here comes the important bit. All these prerequisites can be made. However, if you don't look at them, if you don't look them in the eye, they will not attack you. This is the final, absolute prerequisite. If they do not have eye contact, they won't attack. It's because they want you to look at them. They want you to see them. Because what they want is to trap you in a nightmare. Because Kracktos, from the Titan to the final category, they have psychic abilities. Not just any kind of psychic abilities. The Stalker and up, they all have the unique ability to trap their victims in a nightmare. A never-ending, terrifying nightmare that can lead them to be put in a dead end. It can lure them right to the Kracktos to be murdered and, well, devoured. So, yeah. The sensation one might feel when encountering such a nightmare might involve the entire scenery around you warping and twisting, becoming multicolored. A strobe effect. You might feel like everything is turning to black. You might feel or see things. You might have hallucinations. You might have all these different things happen to you. And the worst part is, unless someone comes to your rescue, the stalker will inevitably kill you. These things are probably going to be used like jump scares or worse in AwaKen Descent into Slumber. That is the scale of the monster we're dealing with here. But we're not done. There is one more species of Kracktos, the most deadly of them all. The Shade. These things don't even look like reptilians. They would be more on the line of a gray. If anyone knows what a gray is, it's that typical alien that looks gray, has those big black eyes, only you really can't see what they look like in this case. Shades, their psychic abilities are so strong. Their power is so terrifying that the nightmares that they give people are definitively known to kill. They never lay a hand on you. The only thing that kills you is the sheer terror they inspire. Their victims can only briefly describe their final nightmare moments. When brought back from the nightmare, they only have about 5 minutes to describe the depth of the horror they described before they pass away. So now you know what a Kracktos is. So, why did I make a lore video about them? Because they're not exactly unimportant. They're very much a real problem in the world of Ardor. In fact, there's often a childhood story sort of thing, much like the Bigfoot boogeyman kind of idea. I actually believe in those, but whatever. The thing is, people make these warnings about Kracktos, childhood stories and legends, so that people don't go out at night. So that this thing doesn't happen. But for 2 young children some time ago, it did, and they barely survived. I'm speaking of Ab and Kawoi Redwing. They are actually victims of Kracktos attacks. So let me tell you the story, as will be told in the cinematic I've been developing for the past couple of days. So, prepare yourself. Av and Kawoi are the daughter and son of the leader of the Mangus Knights of the time, which is signified by a green cloak. Anyway, and they were told specifically never to wander the woods at night by their father. And being the leader of the enemy of Dreamspawn, you would think that his children would take it a little bit more seriously. Right? Of course not. They're children. They don't know any better. And that's, unfortunately, what they did. For years, they would defy their father's wishes, and they would continuously play in the woods at night. They were careful, but they didn't really understand the depth of what they were getting involved with. Because, as it would happen, Kracktos are everywhere. They're found on the moon, they're found in Ardor. Despite the best efforts of people to eradicate them, they're not that easy to find. They are not those kind of things you can just find. They are the only thing that really you have to be encountered. You have to run into them. And they are very meticulous. Anyway. So, late one night, as they always did, they were just playing in the woods. And they both started getting chills down their spine. They had, for the past couple of weeks, felt this chill. But they had always blown it off. But this time it was much, much darker, colder, more deadly. And so, what ended up happening was Kawoi finally got scared enough. He looked behind him and saw the eyes of a Kracktos. Hearing her brother scream, Av turned around and looked and got involved in the same nightmare. And so both of them ran through what they could only describe as hell. Through twisted versions of the forest they ran, sometimes through nothing but a pure void, with howls and screams chasing them throughout, and they couldn't see the Kracktos. They hadn't yet developed the sight, but they could feel them. They could feel their presence, constantly chasing them. They could feel their claws tearing up the land as they tore after them. If it were not for their father eventually finding them sometime right before dawn, Av and Kawoi Redwing would be dead. From that day forward, they both resolved to become Mangus Knights. Av, so that no one would ever have to deal with the terror that she endured, and Kawoi, because he didn't want anyone else to have to protect him again. Like his father, or even his sister, if she became a Mangus Knight. He didn't want to rely on anyone again. Because what if no one came for him next time? So now you know a little bit more about the world of AwaKen and the terrifying these citizens known as the Dreamspawn. Of all the Dreamspawn, the Kracktos are probably the most terrifying for the fact that they are so eerily intelligent and capable of such violence. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. If you want to see more lore about the world of Ardor, I invite you to subscribe to my channel, as I am a game developer who works on and off to produce this content, both in the lore videos, the music, and gameplay of my game. It takes a long time to work on all this stuff, but when it's finally ready, well, I hope you'll enjoy it. So anyway, my name is AxisofDestruction, and I'll see you next time on the next video. Bye!